morning, guys. Wednesday morning, nice and cold in Johannesburg. This morning's subject is going to be about complaining, and I'm sure most of us can identify with it. Let's get into it.
This is the truth with Pure Power Chord. The truth. The truth. The truth. The truth. The truth. Do you want to hear the truth? Do you want to hear the truth? Do you want to hear the truth? You want to hear the truth.
Have you ever met somebody that complains about everything? And when I say everything, I mean everything. They make a sport out of complaining. And I can identify with this because it becomes like a habit. And once you get into that habit, it's very difficult getting out of it. You will see as soon as a situation comes up, you will go to your A game of complaining. Now, if we look in our Bible, we can see complaining has been around for a very long time. And this morning, I'm going to give you an example. Philippians 2, verse 14 says this: do all things without murmuring and disputing. So when I looked at the Bible this morning, I saw over 47 verses about moaning and complaining and grumbling. As we look in the Bible, we can see it took the Israelites 40 years to get into the promised land. And all because of disobedience and guess what? Complaining. They complained on a daily basis. It says they grumbled to Moses and Aaron and ultimately to the Lord. Okay, 1446 BC. The people complained to Moses that because of him and his talk of a promised land, Pharaoh made things worse for them. Moses complained to the Lord, we see in Exodus 5. The Lord delivered the Israelites. And Moses said to the people, remember this day in which you went out from Egypt, from the house of slavery. For by a powerful hand the Lord brought you out from this place. Exodus 13, verse 3. So what I can deduce from these passages is that people didn't listen, number one. They complained and they didn't have any patience. And when you're dealing with God and when God deals with us, you need to have patience because God does things in His time, not our time, and not in our way. Then we see another instance where they moaned again in Exodus 13, verse 3. The people complained and said to Moses at the Red Sea, verses 12, leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians, for it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. In Exodus 14, verse 9 to 31, we see God opens the sea and the Israelites march across on dry land and the Egyptians were destroyed. So as you can see, grumbling and moaning and complaining is not anything new. Have you ever been in a situation, let's give you a funny example. Say now your wife promised you some coffee and she was taking too long. And what did you say? If I'm going to wait so long, I might as well make it myself. Right. And to all this complaining, there were actually consequences. You look in the Bible, there were consequences for their complaining. In Numbers 11, the people complained about adversity and food. Numbers 11 says this: Moses was displeased and wanted to die. Then the Lord sends a very great plague. Miriam and Aaron complain about Moses' leadership. The Lord curses Miriam with leprosy for 7 days. That's Numbers 12, verses 1 to 15. In 1445 BC, the people complained again and wanted to kill Moses and tried to select another leader. Numbers 14, verses 10 to 38. The Lord kills the 10 spies by the plague instantly. And verse 37, and pronounced all the men over 19 years, except Joshua and Caleb, would die in the wilderness and not enter the promised land. So we can safely say, reading all these verses, that complaining is a sin, punishable by God. That's what we see. Okay, although complaining is a sin, it's not the same as voicing our distress and struggles to God. Okay, the Lord invites us into a close relationship with Himself, which includes honest and open dialogue. None of us want to be known as a complainer ever, always grumbling about every problem in life. You see, a lot of grumbling leads to disobedience by the looks of it. Because when we grumble, we become discontent, and then we do things that we shouldn't do. An example is this: Psalm 106, verse 25. They murmured in their tents and did not obey the voice of the Lord. So we can safely say, moaning, complaining, and grumbling leads to disobedience and rebelliousness. So this morning, when you go out there into the world and somebody gets on your goat and you want to complain and you want to murmur and you want to grumble, think twice. If your wife is taking too long with a cup of coffee she's promised you, rather say to her, let me make it for both of us. Hope you've learned from this. Have a fantastic week. Cheers.
This is the truth with Pure Power Chord. The truth. The truth. The truth. The truth. The truth. Do you want to hear the truth? Do you want to hear the truth? Do you want to hear the truth? You want to hear the truth.